Major events in Afghanistan on Wednesday, August 13th. Welcome. The non-governmental organization Emergency has warned in a recent report that Afghanistan's health system is on the verge of collapse, 4 years after the Taliban came to power. The organization says that half of the patients in the emergency wards of this hospital are still victims of war, and that a lack of funding and staff has made the situation even worse. More details in this report.
The non-governmental organization Emergency says that during the 4 years of Taliban rule, budget cuts and staff shortages have pushed the country's healthcare system to the brink of collapse. In a recently published report, the organization added that given the lack of recognition of the Taliban government, the suspension of funding by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and the growing indifference of the international community, there is little hope that the healthcare system in Afghanistan will improve. The non-governmental organization Emergency added that peace in Afghanistan has meant the end of war, but not the end of its consequences, and that violence and crime are war-related outcomes that continue even after the fighting has stopped. The abundance of weapons, landmines scattered in remote areas, and poverty are factors that have made this situation even more complicated. The non-governmental organization Emergency has stated that victims of theft and assault, family disputes, and shootings are brought to this organization's medical centers in Afghanistan. It further states that victims of landmines, murders, shootings, and terrorist attacks continue to fill the emergency sections of this organization's medical center in Kabul. The organization's report states that about 50% of the patients currently in the emergency section of Emergency Hospital in Kabul are still victims of war, coming in with injuries caused by gunfire, explosions, landmines, and wounds resulting from armed violence. The report adds that in Lashkargah, about 80% of patients are admitted due to traffic accidents and non-war-related injuries. And in Annaba, Panjshir, poverty and food insecurity have led to 20% of hospitalized children suffering from malnutrition, which has long-term effects on their growth and health. It further states that in the current year, 75% of the victims of anti-personnel mines treated at this organization's surgical centers have been children who encountered mines simply while playing. Meanwhile, a number of impoverished families say they cannot afford to treat their sick relatives. A resident of Herat province, who did not want his name mentioned in the report, said that about a year ago, his 12-year-old son was injured by a mine and is now facing many difficulties.
It's been about a year now that this mine has brought nothing but trouble, nothing but trouble. He's become so weak that now, even tonight, when he wants to take a bath, he struggles. Then, the next day, just like when we took him to the doctor prescribed medicine, but even then, we couldn't get the medicine he needed to use for him. I even took him to a private hospital. And when I took him to the public hospital, all they did was an examination. If we got anything for free, that was it. Otherwise, we had to pay for all the medicine and other things ourselves. They just tell you to go and buy it yourself.
The emergency organization, in its June report, stated that more than 70% of Afghans do not have access to free or permanent health care. Also, 3 out of 5 people are unable to pay for medical treatment and are forced to borrow money or sell their belongings to cover the costs. And 1 out of every 4 people has postponed or canceled their surgery due to financial difficulties.
On the eve of the 4th anniversary of the Taliban's rule, the United Nations has announced that the situation of Afghan women has reached an unbearable level. The organization estimates that maternal mortality will increase by 50% by 2026, and that more than 78% of women do not have access to education and work. More detailed in this report.
On the eve of the 4th anniversary of the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan, the United Nations has stated that the living conditions of Afghan women under Taliban rule have become unbearable, and now women have shorter lifespans and worse health conditions. In its latest report, published on its website on Monday, August 11th, the organization emphasized that over the past 4 years, the Taliban have issued nearly 100 decrees against women, which have had devastating consequences for Afghan women and girls. The United Nations has stated that these decrees have restricted the rights of women and girls in terms of movement, work, and education, and that this has had severe negative impacts on their social, economic, and physical well-being. The report also states that more than 78% of Afghan women and girls do not have access to education and work, and as a result, nearly half of the workforce, which plays a significant role in Afghanistan's economy, is affected. According to the report, this situation not only deals a blow to the country's economy, but has also caused numerous problems in the health sector. The United Nations estimates that maternal mortality will increase by 50% by 2026 due to women's lack of access to healthcare. The report also states that forced and early marriages of girls, as well as domestic and social violence against women, have also increased. And even inside their own homes, 62% of women feel that they have no power over household decisions. The report quotes Susan Ferguson, head of UN Women in Afghanistan, as saying that the issue of imposing restrictions on Afghan women should be recognized as a problem that goes beyond Afghanistan. This comes as nearly 4 years have passed since the Taliban regained power in Afghanistan, and a number of Afghan women say that during this time, the Taliban have largely implemented anti-women policies. One resident of Nangarhar province, who was a second-year university student but had to stop her studies due to Taliban restrictions, said on the condition of anonymity.
That day, we had no idea, but it was announced that we were no longer allowed to come to the university. We were not at fault for anything. Just because we were girls, our right to education was taken away from us. This is extremely hard.
Another resident of Kabul, who also did not want her name mentioned in the report due to the sensitivity of the issue, says,
Women and girls have become so helpless that they can't do anything to demand their rights, except to make their voices heard by the world. If the international community wants to support Afghan women, it must increase pressure on the Taliban and impose restrictions on them.
A number of women's rights activists also say that the Taliban have not changed at all over the past 4 years, and there has been no change in their policies regarding women's rights. Sina Rafi is one of them. In her remarks, she emphasized that the international community must take practical steps against the Taliban.
The international community, especially those countries that call themselves defenders of women's rights, must understand that Afghan women have faced severe oppression and injustice over the past 4 years. They have been deprived of everything, from education to public life. But unfortunately, the international community has done nothing. In these 4 years, not only have the Taliban not changed, but their anti-women policies have even become more extreme.
Zabihullah Mujahid, the spokesperson for the Taliban government, did not respond to questions regarding the new United Nations report. However, the Islamists have repeatedly spoken about women's rights in Afghanistan based on Islamic Sharia law. The Taliban have closed the doors of education to girls above the 6th grade and have taken away women's right to work in many government and non-government offices. They have also forced women to observe hijab and have imposed strict restrictions on their participation in all social activities, including sports.
The U.S. State Department has added the Balochistan Liberation Army to its list of terrorist organizations. This decision was announced at a meeting between American and Pakistani officials in Islamabad, and both countries have emphasized the need to combat terrorist threats in the region. More detailed in this report.
At a meeting held on Tuesday in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, Nabil Munir, Pakistan's special representative to the United Nations, and Gregory Delagero, the U.S. State Department's coordinator for counterterrorism, were present. Both sides emphasized the need to combat terrorist threats in the region, especially from the so-called Islamic State group, ISIS, Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, and Balochistan Liberation groups. Both parties pledged to seek appropriate and practical ways to eliminate the threats posed by these groups. Gregory Delagero, the U.S. representative, also praised Pakistan's fight against terrorist groups in the region. On Monday, the U.S. State Department announced in a statement that the United States has added the Balochistan Liberation Front to its list of terrorist organizations. In this statement, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is quoted as saying that this action demonstrates President Donald Trump's commitment to fighting terrorism. Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, the Islamic State group known as ISIS, and the Balochistan Liberation Front are militant groups that operate in the border regions of Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan. These groups have claimed responsibility for numerous attacks in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Associated Press reported on Tuesday, quoting Pakistani officials, that tens of thousands of people have been displaced as a result of military operations in the Bajur region. Although the start of this operation has not yet been officially announced, Zulfikar Ahmed, the police chief of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in Pakistan, has quoted local sources as saying that military helicopters are involved in the operation and that the hideouts of militants in the mountainous areas near the border with Afghanistan have been targeted. Shahid Ali, another Pakistani government official, has said that due to fear of this operation, about 100,000 people had been displaced. Islamabad claims that the leaders of Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, are hiding in Afghanistan. The Taliban government in Afghanistan has denied this accusation.
Mohammed Usman Atif, a 12-year-old football player from Baji's province, has attracted attention on social media with videos of his games. This young talent, who used to practice on a hockey field with limited resources, now hopes to play for Afghanistan's national team. More detailed in this report.
I'm really passionate about soccer. I truly wish I could play for the national team. I really hope my wish comes true.
Mohammed Osman Atif, a 12-year-old resident of the Chokaran area in Kalaina, the capital of Baji's province, has attracted attention on social media with videos of him playing soccer on a hockey field, wearing non-sports clothes. Some users say he performs special soccer moves with speed and skill. Mohammed Osman said that he is very interested in soccer.
Honestly, when I saw him playing soccer as a kid and noticed his talent, I encouraged my children. Now, soccer has really become a part of my life. It's been about 1, 2, or maybe 3 years. I live and breathe soccer.
Mohammed Osman Atif, who has now come to Kabul, says he hopes to improve in soccer alongside his studies, with better facilities and under the supervision of coaches.
Background sound of the game. Where I come from, there was only one dirt field in the village.
There was no coach at all there. There weren't any facilities for training either. For me, it's possible that I won't go back to the village anymore because I study here and I made it to the national under-12 team.
He, who is a 7th grade student, said that his coaches in Kabul praised his playing.
Background sound of the game. I'm happy because, besides me, there were talented people.
There were even some individuals who possessed skills and abilities that were demonstrably superior to my own, making them truly exceptional. From the beginning, I thank God, because out of so much talent, God chose me, and whoever supports me, I truly won't let them down, and God willing, I'll keep my promise. The national team coaches say that you're doing really well even without resources or a coach. It means there's a chance I could go abroad and play for Barcelona.
It's worth mentioning that many famous football players and athletes from other sports in Afghanistan have also achieved success and brought pride to Afghanistan, despite having very limited resources.
At Zarin Global Television, we believe that every citizen has a voice that deserves to be heard. This voice can share their realities, experiences, and perspectives with others, unfiltered. This collective voice strengthens oversight, accountability, and solidarity, and prevents the monopoly of limited narratives. In the Voice of the People segment, all of Afghanistan hears your voice.
You, kid, up until now, the match is so is money. And let's move on to the questions. One foolish thing, you separate their nonsense. So, but it's time to look around quickly, because losing weight won't wait. That there's nothing for. Starbazima, hello here. Let's not celebrate in Morocco. Stop, even if it's soft. I'm the range. A story about Megara. You're from Mega Spread. I'm going to take it. Okay, peace. You're a shrew. Now unhappy. Dying cine, sheet stanner. How much more was felt with a dream? I have what I have, and with the mud, I have what I have. That's it. That's it. At Supersaw, Tad Musu Carol Matthew ISP. Yeah. Meister advice.
Under the news.